Dr. Ndoro, we are pleased to have you here, and I've been working here as a journalist for 30 years, and I've been working in heritage for about 25 years of the 30 years, and that's why I am a little familiar with the international organization called ICCROM, where you're working for. However, ICCROM is still not so well known in Korea. So the first thing I want to ask is, could you tell me what kind of work or activities ICCROM does as an international organization?
Thank you. I think it's an understatement to say that ICCROM is not well known in Korea. You have said you have been working in heritage for more than 30 years, so I'm sure ICCROM is quite well known, and we've done a lot of activities here. Basically, ICCROM is an intergovernmental organization whose main objective is to build capacity in its member states for heritage management.
Yeah.
That includes the conservation, the preservation, presentation, interpretation of heritage. Currently, we have 137 member states throughout the world.
The headquarters, the location of the headquarters is in Rome?
ICCROM's headquarters is in Rome.
Yeah.
We do have an office in United Arab Emirates. But that office is specifically for a project in the Arab region.
Yeah, okay. In Korea, ICCROM is known as one of the three advisory bodies, along with IUCN and ICOMOS, related to UNESCO, especially the World Heritage work it manages. IUCN is commissioned by the UNESCO World Heritage Center to perform tasks related to World Heritage in the field of natural heritage, and ICOMOS performs such tasks in cultural heritage. I heard that these two institutions should do specific things related to the inscription and deletion of the World Heritage sites. What role does ICCROM play in this World Heritage business compared to those two organizations?
Thank you for the question. As you indicate, ICCROM is one of the three advisory bodies to UNESCO. ICCROM itself is created by UNESCO in 1956, initially in India. And that's when the call for ICCROM was made. And our role, even from the beginning, was to do with training of cultural heritage experts.
Yeah.
Of course, I did mention at the beginning that our role now is capacity building, because training has evolved over the years, and we now include capacity building. And this is the same role we play for UNESCO World Heritage, because when you nominate these sites to the list, they still have to be managed, and you still have to make sure that you have the capacity to manage them. And this is where ICCROM comes in, because then we have to train the people who are managing these World Heritage sites to ensure that they do not fall into the World Heritage list in danger.
Yeah.
And our role, again, I want to emphasize, is capacity building and advising World Heritage Center on issues related.
Okay, I will ask you more questions on education later. And then, does ICCROM only work on World Heritage, or does it also work in other heritage fields that are not directly related to World Heritage?
Actually, probably World Heritage is probably less than one quarter of our work. We also work in museums, in promoting museums, capacity building in museums, how collections are looked after by museums. We also do work in archives and libraries. Anything to do with cultural heritage in general, ICCROM is involved. We do have several programs. Today we have 4 main programs which we call 4 flagship programs. The first one, of course, is the World Heritage Leadership Program, which is led by Eugene Joe. Yeah. We also have the Athar program, which I mentioned that we have an office in the Arab region, and its main emphasis is on archaeological and architectural conservation in that Arab region. We do also have a program which looks at sites, or let's say heritage in danger. As you know, today we do have a war in Ukraine and Russia. Yeah. And ICCROM is involved in trying to save the cultural heritage which is being affected by that war. That's one of our programs. We have done that in Syria, we have done that in Libya, we continue doing it even today. And again, the other issue which has come into play is climate change. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we all heard about the floods in Pakistan. Yeah. ICCROM is involved in trying to help the people of Pakistan to save the cultural heritage there. We also have another program, the 4th program of our flagship, which is the Youth Heritage Africa program, where we are looking at developing the capacity of the youth in Africa in looking at cultural heritage, but also trying to make sure that they can also create jobs and entrepreneurship from cultural heritage. Yeah. These are our 4 main flagship programs, but we also do have other programs which we run in Latin America, for example, on contemporary art. It's one of our new projects. We also have projects on the built heritage and sustainability. We have another program on archives. We have another program on collections and digital heritage. So we have various projects which we run depending on the needs of our member states.
Yeah. So many things around the world at the same time.
Yes.
In my opinion, ICCROM is an organization, as you say, that is not directly involved in the inscription or on the World Heritage List. So there may be limitations in terms of so-called power, ICCROM's power. But on the other hand, I think there are many advantages as it is one step away from that. I mean, the inscription is related to what? What am I saying?
Yeah, but I think that could be wrong to say that we are engaged in the whole process of inscription. But like what I mentioned, our role is to make sure that we can understand the needs of that World Heritage Site in terms of it being looked after. And ICCROM is engaged in the processes of nomination, but not in the same way as, let's say, ICOMOS, for example, or IUCN. But still, we are part and parcel of the nomination because we have to be able to say, okay, is this something feasible to be nominated and be looked after? And does the country have the capacity, or what are the needs for that country to be able to look after that site? So in many ways, we are engaged in that process. It's not that we are far from that process, but like what I'm saying, the nomination is initially sent to the World Heritage Center, which then engages ICOMOS or IUCN. But in the final analysis, in the panel discussions and all that, ICCROM is part and parcel of those discussions, because we have to also have an input into whether this is feasible to manage that site, whether the capacity can be made to do that, and ICCROM has to be engaged in that.
Okay. There are positive signs that ICCROM is getting very close to Korea recently. Eugene, your employee who accompanied you here, is a World Heritage expert from Korea that I do respect. I was so surprised when I heard that she was going to Roma to work for ICCROM, and at the same time I thought it's such a great blessing for ICCROM to have her, right? Don't you agree?
No, I do agree, but there is Eugene is part and parcel of a big team, and she's working very hard. And this program, World Leadership Program, is one of the flagship programs of ICCROM.
Okay,
but I want to say that we are engaged with Korea, even besides him. The professor here is in the council of ICCROM. Yeah, we have programs which we have been doing with Korea and the Heritage Organization, Government Heritage Organization in Korea. We have been working together, I think, for the past 5 or more years. Yeah. And now we also have, we are going into a new program. In which both of us, the government of Korea and ICCROM, we shall be working again on World Heritage, but also in Asia with collections, with museums, and so forth. And I think I would say that Korea is working with us just like all the other member states of ICCROM, Norway, for that matter, and many, many other countries. And we are looking forward to increasing our activities with Korea. Yeah. Not because Eugene is working for us, but because we both, the government of Korea and us, see the need for us to cooperate and make sure that heritage is protected. Yeah,
as you say, ICCROM has begun to connect more closely with the Korean government. Not long ago, only a month or 2 months ago, ICCROM ran some event in Korea, and I heard that there's another upcoming event in Suwon, right?
I think for those events, I would give you to my colleague Eugene, because she is the one in charge of those events, and she can give you more details about the events which we did, I think in August here, and the event which is starting tomorrow.
Yeah. I want to ask you more education. One of the many activities of ICCROM that I've seen and heard of is education, as you say. Usually, if you observe at the education programs run by international organizations, the target audience is university students or elite in specific fields or professors. But ICCROM is so unique in that it provides education for practitioners who are actually in charge of World Heritage work in countries around the world. Is this what ICCROM intended, or did it happen by chance?
No, it's not by chance. It was from the original idea. It was felt, as you know, ICCROM was, when UNESCO made the pronouncement, this was in reaction to what had happened in the Second World War. A lot of buildings had been, heritage had been destroyed. And professionals who were working in the field did not know how to handle this. So the idea was, and at that time also, most universities were not even training people to do this. So ICCROM then had to fill that gap. Today, even if universities are covering some of the areas, there is still need for ICCROM to work with those who are graduating, the students, and those who are in the field. ICCROM today very much wants to work with the people in the field, because they are the ones who are going to get dirty, Those are the ones who are going to look after our heritage, and therefore we continue to look at the professionals or those who are going to be professionals from the university so that we can give them that capacity to ensure continuity of our heritage.
Yeah. ICCROM will need more cooperation with Korea, and the Korean government will need closer cooperation with ICCROM as well. As far as I know, the Korean government is also actively engaged in various cooperative projects. So what areas can we strengthen more for our cooperation in the future? ICCROM and the Korean government.
ICCROM and Korean government are working towards making sure that we cooperate on various fields. We have identified areas, for example, on intangible heritage and traditional and traditional crafts. We have identified digital technology and heritage as some of the areas which we are going to be working together with the university and the Korean government. And we will begin right now to plan to see what programs we can put into the field in the world. Because again, ICCROM does not work in just one country. Whatever we do, we try and make with our member states. And because Korea is in Asia, we will start with Asia and then expand to other areas. And we are hoping also, as part of the program, that we will have more Koreans coming to ICCROM to work so that the influence of Korea is also felt throughout the world. There is a lot of good work coming from the university, which we feel should also be shared with other member states. And that way, Korea benefits from collaborating with us and other member states. ICCROM also is happy that the profession of looking after heritage places and heritage assets is improving.
The day before yesterday, maybe, you gave a lecture on heritage to students at the Korea National University of Cultural Heritage, and I heard that. I don't know what you said exactly, but I heard that in relation to heritage, here and now are important, and the future should not be bound by the past. Could you elaborate on it?
My thinking is that very much we hear about heritage is about the past, as if it doesn't have relevance to today. And my definition of heritage is that it has relevance today. Heritage is about our identity. It is about you being Korean, right? And therefore it's about today. Heritage is also about livelihood, right? It is about food. It is about jobs. It is about the economy, right? Because if those things are not stable, then it means you would not even think about preserving heritage. There must be a benefit coming out of the heritage. And therefore, my own thinking is that heritage is about now, right? It is not about the past.
So
right?
impressive to me.
And also, yes, heritage is about the future, but we cannot predict what happens in the future, right? If heritage contributes to the economy, if it contributes to your identity, if it contributes to creation of jobs, then yes, it's about the future. It is about the young people who we have, and they are the ones who will carry on. As long as we talk about identity, we are talking about heritage, because heritage is about who we are.
Yeah.
How do I define myself as a Korean, or how do I define myself as a Zimbabwean? It is about my heritage and how I then share it with the others. It is about today, not what happened in 1900. No, it is about today.
Okay, thank you. this year's PNC forum. PNC is People, Nature, and Culture.
Yeah.
PNC forum in Suwon, upcoming event, right?
Yeah.
PNC forum has set the theme of the benefits of heritage, right? Yeah. Very often, as such benefits, we talk about tourism returns or too abstract things such as so-called mental healing or comfort. I mean, the heritage gives you mental healing or comfort, and so abstract for me. And what are the new benefits of heritage that ICCROM or you are paying attention to?
I think, like what I said, heritage is about your identity. Heritage is about your, should I say, your religious feeling, your religious being, right? And therefore, it is beyond, it's not just the economic benefits. It is about who you are. And therefore, we need to be articulating those benefits beyond just the economic benefits. And today in the world, we have so many issues. And we have to be posing questions like, how can we use heritage to answer some of these issues, like climate change, for example? Right? How can heritage help us to do that? And at times our traditional practices can help us to overcome some of these issues. There's also the issue of wars, right? How can heritage help us to silence those guns which we see crying every day, right? Because, again, I said it's about identity, but it's also about tolerating our differences. And we need to be able to articulate that for us to begin to perhaps have less of the conflicts. I know that human history has always been about wars, but at the same time, I think if we begin to understand the commonality, which is our heritage, then we might begin to make those steps. So heritage goes beyond just the economic benefits, tourism and all that. That's given, right? But I'm saying we need to work harder to make sure that we achieve things like peace, we achieve things like tackling problems of climate change and tackling problems which the world is facing. The moment we realize that, yes, we are different, but we have common shared heritage, then there is a better chance that we will achieve peace in this world.
Yeah, but paradoxically, the reason why we are emphasizing the benefits of heritage is evidence that heritage is in danger all over the world. In Korea, such circumstances are not much different. Will the benefits you are talking about really be a panacea or savior to rescue heritage from danger?
I think, like what I said, things like wars have always been part and parcel for our heritage. Wars or those conflicts or those dangers also create their own heritage, unfortunately. But I hope that if we put more emphasis on our commonality, on our identities, we will be able to have less of these problems. I think it would be false for us to think that we can solve all the world's problems by just doing that. But I think at least we are in a better way if we can all realize the importance of heritage. It will help us to confront problems together. I would say that perhaps one of the issues we confronted recently as the world was COVID, the pandemic. I think we all tried in our own small way to cooperate and make sure that the world became a better place. And that's the cooperation which heritage brings to us.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize that it doesn't come on a silver platter. We have to make the effort to be able to do that. And I think heritage can give us much more than just the economic benefits, which, of course, it's obvious. There are economic things to get.
Okay, I go on to another story. Korea and Africa, and all African countries, including Zimbabwe, your country, share many common experiences in modern and contemporary history. In particular, the two regions, Korea and Africa, have a painful experience of being colonized during the imperial era. For this region, there will be maybe a lot of moves to clear up the unhappy past in the two regions. And what do you think about the experience of being colonized, imperialism era experiences?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I've been very much impressed by what has happened here. This morning, we visited the History Museum, Contemporary History Museum. Yeah, and I was impressed. At the same time, I had pain because it reminds me of what has happened in Africa and what is happening in Africa today.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a shared experience, but I think perhaps because Korea became independent earlier, you have been able to, in my view today, to overcome. And Africa, unfortunately, is still grappling with these issues. And I think Africa can learn from Korea. Personally, from a personal point of view, I would wish to see more cooperation between Korea and African countries because they can learn a lot. They can learn a lot. I'm impressed by what has happened here because you were colonized at some point. But now you teach at university in Korean, right? Everything is in your language, right? Unfortunately, in Africa, that's not the case. It's either, if I give the example of myself, the moment I started going to school, I was being taught in English, right? From the first grade up to PhD level, to the extent that today, I struggle to read my language. Well, Ndoro is my surname, but my first name, I was named by a priest because during that time, you could not go to school with your Shona name. You could not get a birth certificate if you had a Shona name. And I admire what has happened here, right? I rarely see anything in Japanese, right? Even though they were the colonizers. You have made Koreans proud of their language, of their culture, of their heritage. And I'm saying African states have a lot to learn. It's not just that, but also, as you know, you have traveled a painful past in terms of dictatorships and all that. And unfortunately, Africa is still grappling. My own country is still grappling in this dictatorial governance. I admire, because it didn't come on a silver platter. You had to fight for it. You had to make sure that you get where you are now. And that's what I admire. And again, when I went through the museum, it reminded me very much of what is happening in Africa. For example, I mean, my country, yes, has been independent for 40 years, but almost all those 40 years, probably 35 years, we have been under dictatorial powers, and we still have a long way to go. Because in dictatorship, it's very hard to economically develop. So, from a personal point of view, I really wish that African countries could learn from what has happened in Korea. I wish there could be more cooperation between Korea and Africa, between universities in Korea and African universities, between institutions in Africa and in Korea. I think this could help the African countries mostly, but I also think that the experience would also be beneficial to Koreans.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to end this interview, and before that, until now, I've been asking about things I'm curious about, but there must be something you want to tell us when I'm not curious about. And could you tell me anything more? Or
about Korea?
About Korea or something else?
No, I like what I said. I really was touched by what I saw, the hospitality, everything which I saw in Korea. Like what I said, it really, when I went to the museum today, I really felt pain.
Is it your first visit to Korea?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
We tried, and then COVID came. I could not come, and now at least things are better. So I came, but I would want to say that I really wish good progress for Korea, and I really feel that you are in the right track. And at least if there's anything, you have a cheerleader in me. I will always talk about what I saw in Korea and what is happening. Your heritage protection services are excellent. I visited, I think this was the fourth museum we saw, and everything seems to be in place. I like the idea of having children museums, specifically for children. It's important to emphasize the children and the youth.
Yeah.
They are our tomorrow. And I really think that so far I have not seen anything I would say is negative. Maybe I'm being taken to the right places, I don't know. But infrastructure-wise, for a country which was colonized, you have the infrastructure built, everything seems to be working. I should dare say that at the risk of being deported from Italy, I think things work much better here than in Italy.
You're so interested in education for children in museum, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, they are our future anyway. We cannot run away from the fact that children will inherit what we have. And if we give them rubbish, it means they will have serious issues. But if we give them something nice, it means it becomes easier for them.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I've never been to Zimbabwe.
Please come. I'm retiring
Thank you.
next year. I want the two of you to come to Zimbabwe.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to thank you once again for accepting our invitations and looking forward to the day we meet again, maybe in Roma.
Either Roma or in Harare. Who knows?
I wish for the infinite development of ICCROM and
Thank you.
bigger trust funds from South Korea. I wish you, and I support you.